Hey guys, what's up? This is Diaphone, and today we're going to be talking about the top 5 tips for beginners to improve in Guilty Gear Strive. I've noticed a lot of common questions and problems beginners have. While I'm streaming, I get asked questions, and a lot of them are pretty similar, and I want to address a lot of those. And I'm making this video for people who are looking to improve at the game, but don't really know where to start. I plan to make this into a series with the next guide meant for intermediate players, so if you're interested in seeing a follow-up video to this, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. It really helps out the channel. So, in my opinion, the first thing you should do with any fighting game is to learn the system mechanics, understand the basics of the characters. So, if you haven't done it already, you should check out some other videos first that kind of talk about the game system and, check out the tutorial, check out mission mode, and play with some of the characters in training mode, because that's going to set your foundation for what you should actually be looking to improve at. So, once you have that, my first tip is to learn how to beat wake up and mash throw. This is going to be like one of the most common and frustrating scenarios that you'll deal with. People really like to mash throw, and for good reason. Throws are extremely fast and they give you really good reward. You get a knockdown and it's basically now it's your turn. It's like basically a situation reversal. However, they're risky. They're very risky and they can be exploited. A lot of people think those are like the old Guilty Gears where they have essentially 0-frame startup you can do on wake up. That's not true. They have startup, they're just really fast in this, and so any type of what we call a meaty normal or a normal as they're waking up, you will hit them out of the throw. One thing you need to do is make sure you practice your knockdown situations. There's 2 types of knockdowns. There's soft knockdown, which is you'll notice them roll on the floor, and there's a hard knockdown, which they'll kind of lay there like after a throw or a sweep or a super or some other special moves. Some characters also, if you're not confident your timing or it's laggy or whatnot, some characters have moves that beat this, such as like Axel 6 heavy slash or Eno's hover dash on the opponent's wake up, or you can just neutral jump and come down with a button to beat their matching throw, right? Especially if they're constantly doing it, you need to call them out, because again, at lower levels this is a really strong option and you need to learn how to deal with it. I also would recommend try to use throws on defense yourself. Don't do it too often, because again, it can be very heavily exploited, but just to better understand how to beat something, and if this is something you're struggling with, try to use it yourself and understand the pros and cons of this technique. So tip number 2 is learn how to anti-air. So people complain a lot about jumping in this game, and it's for good reason. Unlike previous Guilty Gear games, you can block while jumping in the air without using faultless defense. It can be really tough to completely stop people from jumping in the air, unlike more traditional games like Street Fighter or Grand Blue Fantasy Versus. So you can't really shut down all air approaches, but you need a game plan to counter air approaches, right? And there's a few ways you can do this. You can use your 6P. Every character has a anti-air 6P, and 6Ps are actually pretty strong in this game. You can time it quite late, and the head invulnerability of the 6P will win out in most situations against the jump normal. You just need to make sure to time it right. Make sure you figure out the best cancel option. 6Ps can be special cancelable. So for example, when I'm playing Eno, I typically want to cancel and stroke the tree, because on hit it combos and on block it's pretty safe. But for your character, gotta figure out what the best cancel option is, and make sure you optimize that damage. But there's other things you can do, right? You can do preemptive air-to-airs. A lot of characters have a really good air-to-air jump P, and typically if you whiff a jump P, it's not the end of the world. You can double jump after, you can backdash after. Air throws are also really strong. Again, throws are pretty fast, and doing them in the air works pretty well, and you get a pretty good knockdown from that too. Some other characters have good anti-air buttons, such as like Nagaruki 2H or Anji 5P and other characters. So your character might have a non-standard normal to anti-air with, so check that out and see if that's something you can do as well. Improve execution. So the tip number 3 is to improve execution. Improving execution will give you a lot better confidence in neutral, offense, defense. It kind of just impacts your whole gameplay. I don't think people realize that if you drop a combo, you create a huge momentum shift for your opponent. Not only do you miss out on a bunch of damage, like you also lose out on a knockdown opportunity, and that means just one combo can cause you the game. So there's a few ways to prevent combo drops, right? The tried and true method is just, hey, practice in training mode for 3 hours a day. I don't recommend that one. It's pretty boring, especially when you're starting out. And 2, you shouldn't be learning combos that take you 3 hours a day to practice. When you start out, don't learn the most optimal combos. Learning stuff like your character's tools, learning how to play neutral, and developing game sense are way more important, and you'll get a lot more bang for your buck, buck being your time, investing into that and playing matches as opposed to just drilling optimal combos combos out in training mode. You know, I recommend only a few combos when you start out. You should learn like what should you end a mid-screen combo with. Let's say if you start with like a 2k or a 5k, if you get the corner combo, how do you wall break and end in a super or end in whatever ender you need to? You should learn a basic RC combo, but I think this comes later in priority, but it's not absolutely essential. And then you should also learn how to convert off of common hits. So let's say I play Eno and I do stroke the tree. Once it hits, I actually get a conversion. Depending on the situation, I can lead into additional follow-up, right? And so if your character has something similar, you should learn the common follow-ups to moves that you commonly hit, but you shouldn't be trying to practice optimal stuff. You shouldn't be trying to practice fancy RC combos, especially not when you're starting out. You know, save that for when you're an intermediate advanced player and you need something else to work on. I know I crapped on training mode before, but I do think it is good practice in training mode. If I was a beginner, I would practice it just a little bit each day, you know, maybe like 10-15 minutes, grind out the combo and then head online. In my mind, you should be practicing just a little bit each day until you can land the combo 10 out of 10 times on each side. And once you have, you know, you can get a 10 streak of combo in a row, you'll feel a lot more confident and you're much more or less likely to drop a combo in the match, right? Just because you can get something in training mode doesn't mean you can get in a match, which is why it's, you know, very important to keep playing matches, and eventually you'll get the combos in the matches too. And one other small execution tip, if you haven't already, map a button to your air dash macro. This is super important. I don't know why a lot of people don't do this. They think macros are cheating or whatnot. You play in Evo, you can easily use an air dash macro. You play in any tournament, nobody's gonna prevent you from using that air dash macro. It's built into the game. It's essential, and there's like no downside to doing. You know, you can get perfect instant air dashes. You can get back dashes every time. Trust me, like let's say you're on knockdown and the back dash is a pretty strong option on wake up. Instead of mashing back, just hold back or down back and mash the back dash button. It's a lot more safer and it's a lot easier to execute. So number 4, make sure you look at community resources, and I say become involved with the community in a sense. There's a couple of very good ways to do this. You know, there's a replay function built into Guilty Gear Strive, and it's actually really well made. You can see who's high on the leaderboards and then see what their replays are, and then just start watching high ranked players that play your match. Let's say you play a match, let's say you get destroyed by a Amelia player and you're an Anji player. Well, hey, go look at what the top Anji is doing, see when he plays against Melia, and just copy what he does against Melia. There's probably strategies and techniques that you didn't even think of that these higher level players are doing, and try to copy them at least until you get to a similar level, and then you can start implementing your own ideas and your own thoughts into gameplay, right? Also recommend checking Twitch. You know, many high level players stream there, including myself, so you know, feel free to stop by and ask questions to any of us. I think, you know, a lot of us are passionate about fighting games, and we're more than happy to, you know, share our knowledge and help newer players, right? Another thing I'd recommend doing is joining the Guilty Gear Strive Discord. It's actually really well made, especially for fighting game standard Discord. So I threw a link in the description below, and it has a lot of good resources and a lot of other people you can connect with to help learn the game. Number 5, I would say, is to work on your mentality. So one thing I've noticed, a lot of new players, they kind of get into their own heads, right? People get intimidated by fighting games as it might seem like too hard to learn, or that there's a lot to learn, or that everyone knows so much that it's intimidating to start, or they're afraid to go on ranked because they'll lose too bad, or stuff like that. You know, these might be true to an extent, but it can be true for almost anything you do in life. So compared to fighting games, I think there's a couple things that are in your advantage, right? Guilty Gear has a lower skill floor due to simpler combos, shorter list of moves, and less execution needed compared to most games out on the market, and especially compared to older Guilty Gear. One thing you should do is understand that this game, like anything, it'll take time to get good. So if you're not godlike at week 1, that's okay. That's to be expected. So don't worry about it. But if you're looking to improve, there are other people who are more experienced in fighting games, and you can catch up quickly. Because again, the resources are out there, there's people willing to teach you, and you can always copy the replays of the highest level players, right? One thing I always like to say is approach proving with a childlike curiosity, and make sure you have fun with this, right? So what does that mean? you know, try to enjoy the process of learning. Try to understand everything you can about the game that interests you, right? So, you know, a common situation is, let's say there's something in the game you don't understand. Try to learn it. Try to figure out what happens, and that will deepen your knowledge overall of the entire game. And even though it doesn't feel like you're deliberately trying to improve, getting a better understanding of the game as a whole will help you understand, you know, the micro situations, help you understand your character, and it'll make you a stronger player in the long run, right? So always ask questions, try to figure out why stuff happens. You know, it's a program, everything happens for a reason. And again, make sure you have fun. When you have fun, you learn faster. You know, some people get stuck with the character and then they say, I'm not having fun with this character. Well, don't play the character, you know, switch characters. You enjoy training mode more than ranked matches and you just want to play in training mode, then just play in training mode. You just want to grind out combos instead of playing against people online, just grind out combos. More often than not, if you pick a character you like, you're more likely to stick with the game, you're more likely to enjoy yourself, and therefore you're more likely to learn faster, and you're more likely to stick with the game to outlast the people who try to play a top tier and just decide to drop it because they enjoyed the stuff anymore because, you know, they weren't playing the game they liked. So guys, I hope you found these tips useful. If you are interested in more content, please consider like, sharing, and subscribing. Again, I'm interested in doing a second follow-up video. If you want to see that, let me know in the comments below. And thanks for watching, guys, and have a great day, and best of luck on your journey for improvement in Guilty Gear Strive.